Greetings, everyone. This is Pamela Lorenzo, your host, your friend of the Leaders Vibe podcast. Today, I have another powerful guest for you, my new friend Saidi. We connected to a common friend of ours, Krystal Hille, a wonderful lady was a publisher, and she just did a multi-authored book with Krystal. We're gonna talk about all of that, but we had a wonderful chat last week, and from the get-go, I knew that this is a story worth sharing, and this is a story I want to showcase in my podcast. So here she is today. So a little bit about her. So she had quite a, let's say, adventurous life. She was put for adoption at birth, and she had to learn how to deal with the loss of her parents at such a young age. She wasn't she didn't get along well with her host family. She ran away. She lived on the streets, was homeless, and in jail numerous times. She had a fair share of abusive relationships, and I mean, the whole 9 yards, so to speak, to have a very colorful life. And but all of that now, looking at it, it's those have been blessing in disguise to prepare her for where she is now. There were beautiful gifts for her to awaken to a true, eternal, spiritual self, so that she can take those lessons, those beautiful gifts, and share them with the world. She works as a social work as a way to give back. She has a master's in, that was a new term I didn't know myself, which is a thanatology, studying grief in the process of transitioning over to the next world and dying. And yeah, among other things, she also at one time she became an heroin addict. Then she found methadone to help her get over the drugs. 3 years on methadone, 4 years addicted to heroin, and now she's clear and free, and she's living a full fun and fulfilled life. She's living in a shuttle bus, traveling across the country, and yeah, and spreading her message, a light to people around her. And she's an energy and sound healer, and her motto is very beautiful and represents everything that she is, and that is she's here to bring more consciousness to unconscious grief of the wounded feminine. That's a mouthful. We're gonna unpack that in a moment. So before any further ado, Sadie, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here. Wow, you summed that up all just so beautifully.
I just love mine. Before we start, and I asked you before going live, how do we pronounce your name? And you said Sadie. And now the question I have: what's the origin of that name? What does it mean?
Okay. Yeah, when I left my spiritual community, which is actually the story I just put in the book. So it's kind of funny that this is coming up again. When I left my spiritual community, I had to give up the name that I was given, which was Jaya, which means
Jaya.
victory.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a teaching, when you get a name, when you enter the spiritual community, the name is your teaching. It's something you're moving
Mm.
towards, and it was victory. So it's quite a process, and really really interesting. You'll have to read the book to get the whole story about that, how I ended up
Sure.
moving through that situation into the victory, and I achieved that victory. So my name was relinquished when I left, and then I needed to pick a new name for myself because I didn't want to go back to the original name that I had. It just didn't fit me anymore. So in meditation, it actually came to me, Sadie. And so I looked that up, and the way I was spelling it, it meant, I think, something like Jewish princess or something. I'm like,
Oh,
that I know, I'm like, that's not it, I'm thinking something much more. It just was not, that didn't fit me. So I'm like, okay, that's not it. So then through my search and just still sitting with that, I found this name spelled this way. And I know that's not technically how it's pronounced. I believe it's Saidi, which is beautiful, but the name I was given was Sadie, and that's kind of how I pronounced it when seeing it. So and it meant auspicious one, which is, that's kind of big, but it was more leader of chosen field.
mm.
And my career or what I'm doing, what I'm giving back. Being of service is so important to me, and that's my whole life. So it just fit so perfectly and really resonated. And it was also somebody who loves intense experiences, and they were talking about drugs and alcohol. I'm like, yes, that was been my previous experience, although now intense experiences for me are very different. They're not about drugs and alcohol, but and there was some other qualities to this name that were just like, that is absolutely it. It was just so perfect. So I do have to like, it's like, how is that pronounced? So it's Sadie, but yes, that's how that came about.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, before we start, what I usually like to do is to ask a series of rapid fire questions to the people that I bring on to get to know them better and further as a human being, first and foremost. So we're going to talk about your business, your impact, all that later. But first, as a person, as a human being, who's Sadie?
Who is Sadie? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Wow. That's a really big question. And this is supposed to be rapid fire. Who's Sadie? Sadie's somebody who's trying to find her way back to her heart and to live in full authenticity with her heart, with my heart, to be fully in alignment and to feel, yeah, to bring it out of my head down into my heart. We have these ideas of what love is, and we're, I think, really disconnected from what real love is. So I'm always moving towards that, but from a heart-based place, not from my head. So that's who Sadie is. That's who I am, just working towards being that love, being
Beautiful.
the fulfillment of love. Yeah.
Love that. What makes you happy as a person?
Being of service, it really does. It's funny, I was reading more about my astrology chart because there's so much in there, and there's just things in there like that is my jam. That's like seeing other people move out of fear, the fear-based ways of living that we've been given, the limitations and the conditioning and things that keep us small and in a little box. Seeing people move out of that place and have those aha moments and get that freedom and connect with their hearts more and drop that stuff,
Mhm.
that is it for me. My soul just lights up. Yeah.
What makes you smile?
That too. Nature, being in nature, that's why I'm out here living in my shuttle bus. I wanted to be with nature so much more and get out of the city. So seeing plants and animals and just so many different expressions of nature. Yeah, that makes my heart sing.
Beautiful. What sets your soul on fire?
All of the above there.
Mhm.
Yeah, and connection, really, and that's part of those aha moments I like to see with people when we connect, being in community, in group, in circle, like when I'm leading drum rituals and healing circles and meditations and just the connection that happens when we all come together like that. It's just, yeah, everything just feels so right and so good.
Mhm. On the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
Oh gosh. So seeing the repression, just repression against humanity. And there's so many ways that we are just kept small and controlled and held down. And yeah, it makes me nuts. I mean, I don't get lost in it and spin in it. It's just like, okay, that's what it is. And now let's find another way and let's move out of it. So but yeah, it's heartbreaking to see, and continuously there's like more rules and more weird stuff being placed upon us. That's just like, where does that even come from? I look at the world as this big whole, like a whole experience. There's shadow and light, so there's that in the world too. So I try to like work with it at that level, like, okay, that's just part of our experience, but it's it's upsetting.
You
It's
know, this
saddening.
is
Yeah.
this is one of the main reasons that I feel much more alive when I'm in the so-called developing countries as opposed to here in Canada. Just like you said, there's way too many freaking rules, way many restrictions. Whereas in the so-called developing world, you feel alive, you feel free, you can do whatever you want. Well, within reason, as long as you don't, break any law, nobody's gonna bother you. You're pretty much a lot freer there than here.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember my first time going to India and walking around, I was just like, what feels so different here? What is so different? And it was just like, people are just living, they're out on the streets doing whatever they do, they're taking a bath, they're doing, I don't know, it just felt so like unrestricted. There's plenty of restriction there though too. I don't want to like
Sure.
romanticize other cultures because there's some horrible repression, especially for women. So there's
Oh,
control
yes.
all over
And the
the
cast
place.
and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I fell into that like, oh, they've got it all figured out. Like, no, no, no. There's a lot going on everywhere you go. That's just our world, the world we live in right
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was some different freedoms there that I saw too and witnessed that were,
Hmm.
yeah. Interesting. And kids just running around playing. That's, we have so many rules around how you can play, what you can do, like, like because people don't want to be sued. Like it really comes down to that. It's just crazy.
Here you can be sued even if you look someone the wrong way. Pretty much, or say the wrong
Exactly.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Watch a whole day.
ridiculous. Now,
Yeah.
what would you say is your number one personal superpower?
I think my ability to empathize with people, and to really feel the pain of other people
Mm,
and the joy. It's not all about the heaviness too, but just to really meet people in that place and understand that we're all walking around like, trying to hold it together, but there's deep pain that what so many of us are working through. And to just, see that and feel that and support people in just being okay with that,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I'm with you on that. You enjoy traveling, right?
Love it. That's like my whole thing. Yes, yes, yes.
All right. We can do an entire episode just on traveling, but we'll do that next time. For now, I want to take you down a different type of traveling, down memory line. Go back to when you were a young kid growing up. When we're kids, people around us, teachers, parents, relatives ask us, so Saidi, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer as a little girl to that question?
I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Wow.
I have a thing for whales. I love whales. And now I understand. I had a soul retrieval um some years back with a really amazing shaman woman, and she said like through going through the journey, there was a whale there that was holding me and carrying me as an infant on its back, and I was just tears just flooded
Wow.
down. I was like, oh my gosh, the whale has always been so freaking important to me. And she didn't know this about me at all, of course. So, and it was just like, oh, I knew it. It's like that's, yeah. So I had this desire to go and be with whales, but then I discovered I was really scared of the ocean. So it just didn't really work out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
I loved school in the beginning because it was a place where finally I had adults like really praising me in
Mhm.
for doing well. I discovered very quickly if I did good on my schoolwork that I was praised and supported, and I got that in my family as well. It was a way for me to finally like get some really good attention, and so I just took that and ran with it. Really got into school and doing well, overachieving, excelling at that. um yeah, eventually that fell by the wayside when I got older and things just started changing and my relationship to school changed. I ended up getting bullied, and so that kind of and I moved schools too. So it was no a a safe, supportive environment for me. It was I was just kind of a number in there trying to get through the day, not a pleasant experience.
Did you
Yeah.
have any subject that you enjoyed in school?
Subject I enjoyed. That's funny. I'm thinking of social studies right now, or like
Mm,
learning about the other cultures. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. And writing, probably English. Yeah.
Mm. Was there any subject you did not like?
Math was not my favorite. I did excellent
You.
in math. I
Okay.
know, right? I'm great at it. It just doesn't speak to my soul. There's nothing really, but my mind does it. It understands it and works with it. So I excel in math and science, but it's not doesn't light me up. It's just kind of more like my brain works that way, my mind works that way. So, but yeah. That's funny.
What kind of student were you? Imagine if you were in the same class in grade 10, grade 11. Were you the joker, the nerd, the party, the life of the class? What type of student were you back then?
No, I was the one dressing in all black and hiding and not wanting to be seen, trying to get through the day. I was really not in a good place. I was not, you know, I was so self-conscious and so awkward and just so freaking weird. And I did not connect well with others, just always trying to find a place to fit in. And I just didn't, I was very uncomfortable in my entire experience. So just, yeah, getting through the day was just really that trying to find a way to fit in. And I never really did. It just wasn't really successful.
I can imagine. Wow. What was your very first job? And do you remember how much you were getting paid for the first time you got paid?
Oh my gosh, that is funny. Yeah. Okay, well, my first job, I guess, was picking strawberries if we want to go all the way back. It was
Mm,
I lived out in the country and went and picked strawberries. There was a very short period of time that the strawberry session was in season, strawberry season. So it was like 18 days even, so I had to just pick my butt off to make some money because that was it, at 15. And I had to buy my own clothes.
mm.
So if I wanted anything, I had to make money. So that last year there, I made over $1,000 in those 17, 18 days. That's a freak of a lot of strawberry. I
Yeah.
don't remember, but it was like, a couple dollars a flat of strawberries. I mean, it wasn't like so that was a lot of strawberries. It was a lot of strawberries. That's kind of crazy when I think about that.
I can imagine. Wow. So now let's move forward to from the time you left school to now. How would you describe your path? Would you say it was pretty much straightforward, smooth sailing, or was it more like a yeah, turns and twists like a roller coaster?
Yeah, it definitely turns and twists, but pretty much I don't know. I was gonna say nightmare. That's maybe a little dramatic.
Mm,
It got pretty bad after leaving school. Things were I just fell in with I don't know if it was the wrong crowd, but fell into drugs and alcohol. And in the beginning that was okay, but it started getting worse. And in the beginning it was more like that experimental kind of softer drugs. But then I connected with some people later that were doing harder stuff, and that appealed to me. This is a really funny thing. I don't know if it's funny, but there was something about me, and I've part of me's always really been attracted to the darker sides of life and really wanted to explore that. So, I was curious. I wanted to see what was going on in that world, and something drew me to it. I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart. It's the,
mm,
dark depths of us. Um and it appealed to me, like really getting into the sorrow and the misery of it, and the anger of it. I i was drawn to it, which is interesting. It makes sense to me now that I needed to explore all of that so I can be of service to people in a very full way, understanding that aspect of life. But yeah, so I kind of dove in, and luckily I feel like I was very well protected through a lot of that. I think it could have been a lot worse. A lot of people run into some really not good things in that kind of lifestyle, and I really didn't, I mean, it wasn't pleasant. I was miserable because, I was miserable before I started that, so
Mm.
it just compounded it, of course, but then, once I got to sobriety, then I was ready to dive into that wholeheartedly as well. So it was kind of like the flip side, just going into, and that's another Scorpio theme, like in extremes, and intensities. So I kind of like dove into that then after I'd explored that side of life. Now I was going to go over here and explore this side. So and that's been definitely much more smooth sailing for sure, but not without its challenges. The spiritual path is, you start dismantling your ego, and start moving through all the conditioning and the limitations. And that's not necessarily easy. I'm trying to really move away from this belief system that things have to be a struggle. But the truth is, it's hard when we start getting through, going through those layers and having to really look at ourselves and look at all that we hold so dear and how it doesn't serve us. So that's been, um, yeah, it's there's some pain on the spiritual path. I'm sure you understand. I know, it's not all like rainbows and unicorns. There's a
Sure.
lot of stuff you have to look at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's fascinating talking to you because we can do an entire season, just me and you talking about everything you've been through in your life. We can do an entire episode just on you growing up, being abundant, going to the foster family and all that. That can be an entire episode just by itself. And then your experiences with drugs, with going numerous times to jail. I've had a few people on my podcast who we did 4 to 5 episodes just on their experiences in jail because that's fascinating. Sure, it hurts a lot when we go to that, but then once you look at it from a spiritual perspective, we chose that because we wanted to learn something. So, and want to share about the lessons, how it was it, so that, my understanding is we come here in this world, and it's because life is a school, and it's one thing for us to learn the lessons and become better person ourselves, be more wise. But if all we did was just this would be only be 5%. We would be utilizing only 5% of the full potential. 95% is taking those gifts and sharing it with others. Because as I said, we all go through our fair share of tragedies, dark times, painful moments and all that. Sure, they hurt, but then they become our story. Then our story becomes our gift. Then our gift becomes our duty and responsibility to share it with others. And ultimately, that's the main reason, one of the main reasons that we are here, to share those gifts, those lessons, those wisdom with others so we can all collectively rise. So if that's okay with you, we can do 1 or 2 more episodes just focusing on those and diving deeper on the challenges that you faced first as a being put for adoption and experience living with family that was not yours and you didn't get along with them, and then another episodes on the experience with jail. If that's okay with you, we can do that separately because I don't want to do this. It would be an unjust to skim over that because that's a very powerful, not powerful, but powerful chapters of your life that were really important and making you we are now. As I said, sure, they hurt a lot when you were going through them, but now they're part of your gift to share them, and those deserve like to go deeper into that. So if you're okay with that, we can do other episode next week and the week after, going deeper into those.
That would be really, really powerful and amazing. I'm already feeling, as you're talking about that, I'm feeling the depth of what you're saying, and I'm hitting some new levels in myself around that.
I would
Because
be honored.
yeah, okay, I'll save what I'm feeling for those.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
I'll send you my calendar after. We can book that for next week and week after that. So now let's move forward. We're not going to mention those because those deserve their own episodes.
Thank
So
you.
moving forward, very welcome. Tell us, what is your what is your what is your business? What is your impact? And how did you get into doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, my business is my business entity, the name is Healing Sacred Feminine, and it really started from day one, being born into a very unhealthy situation from a woman that was in a very unhealthy situation and had a lot of her own trauma. So, what I know now about trauma and epigenetics and just how it we inherit so much. We inherit so much from our ancestors and from previous generations, and it has a really deep impact on us. And then I feel like we kind of spend a lifetime dealing with these energies, and we can either deal with them, become more conscious and aware of them and start working through them, or we become stuck and mired in them, which we see a lot of. And my passion is to bring more awareness to the inherited grief and trauma, and especially for women dealing with thousands of years of repression, oppression, violence, due to this patriarchal society that we live in. Women have not been valued and cherished for what their qualities, for what they bring to the table. The feminine energy just has not been, yeah, it just hasn't been valued, and it's been really shunned and shamed. And so, through my own experience of living that, living it, and going through my spiritual path and then my educational path, getting much more in touch with grief. My master's is in thanatology. I wanted to work with people, death and dying, because there's so much spiritual growth that can happen when we're transitioning. And I recognize that we really needed to let go of some of these energies we're holding on to before dying, because we take them with us, we carry them with us. People die holding on to their trauma, holding on to their grief, holding on to anger and resentment, and then that gets stuck in the families. We all have family members probably that died not happy people, and a lot did not get resolved. So that just hangs out in the family, and now we have no way to work with that energy. We have no way to resolve it because they're gone. We do now. I know that, now I understand there's ancestor healing. There's so many ways we can work with the energy, and that's what I'm passionate about. But I was really excited about that. But going through learning more about death and dying, I learned a lot about grief, because that's a huge piece of it. Going through school, you learn all about these different griefs and how to support people through grief. Once the person dies, then their family is left grieving. And so it's really about supporting them a lot. So I just started to realize, like, wow, my entire life has been a grieving process, grieving the loss of my mother and my family. And there's some different terminologies for that: a complicated grief, ambiguous loss, when like somebody's gone but they're not dead necessarily, and disenfranchised grief is when people don't understand the grief. It's not supported, like an adoption. People like, oh yeah, you got adopted, that's awesome. It's like, actually, no, that's an absolute horror. I don't have my family. I lost my mother. I was taken from her, and nobody knew how to support me through that. And yet people are celebrating it. Yay for you. It's just like, so that's a disenfranchised grief. So as I started learning more about this, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is me. And that's been my whole life. So, and then seeing how it works with, I just started having these awarenesses through writing these papers and getting more into the feminine, and seeing how much the wounded feminine is carrying this unconscious grief from previous generations. There's a lot of loss, and there's so much loss. Loss of ourselves, loss of our connection to our body, loss of healthy sexuality, loss of our value, loss of self-worth, loss of our spiritual connection, loss of, so much. So there's this grief that runs underneath the surface, and this anger, a real anger that we've been trying to repress and shove down, because it's not okay to express anger and emotions in this society, and especially for women. So really trying to bring more consciousness to that and awareness, and helping women to work with that, and release it, get out from under it. So that's kind of it in a nutshell there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients so far.
Yes, excellent. Okay. I have a 12-week program that really helps to uh I work with energy. That's a key piece of this. And there's so many different ways that we have taken in really unhealthy energy, and we're just kind of made of that at this point. From the trauma we've inherited. It's in our DNA, it's in our, we have cellular memory, it's in our bodies. We surround ourselves with unhealthy energy, looking at screens, looking at and the food that we eat, a lot of unhealthy energy. I was gonna say something. Watching the news, fear, fear, fear. We're just like pummeled with this fear, and the all the 5G, the wireless stuff. I mean, our energy bodies are just, we are made of energy, and we are not taught this in school. We don't learn how to work with our energy bodies. So we're just kind of, and then we're around these unhealthy relationships that are just more negative, toxic energy that we're trying to work with. And without tools and understanding and awareness of how to work with this energy, we just kind of stay stuck in it. We're stuck repeating these unhealthy patterns, and we keep feeding ourselves with this energy. So this 12-week program that I have really, each week gets into a new way that energy is working with us, that we are working with energy. Nutrition is a big piece of that. What are you putting in your body? You can't be in a healthy, happy state if you're eating chemicals and, stuff that's toxic. I mean, that's kind of a baseline, right? So it's funny when people think of their energy body, they're not thinking about nutrition, but that's a really key piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
What are you filling your time with? What do your relationships look like? So what is your work? Where do you go every day to spend your energy? Where do you spend your time? And what are you filling your experience with? So a couple of people going through the program, we start off, with an intake, like, where are you at now? Where do you want to be? What would your life be like if you were free of all these things that you're recognizing aren't working for you? And so people, by the end of the program or shortly thereafter, they've quit their jobs, they've left their career that they've been in for years, because they understand, this isn't serving me. This is not how I want to live my life. They are eating, and I'm thinking of two people very specifically. Their diet is completely changed. They've reversed diseases. One was like a stage 4, was it liver thing or liver disease, kidney, reversed it. Their eyesight improved by 50%, because again, clearing out the toxins and the chemicals and and we're learning a spiritual practice through all of this. We're learning a whole new way of life. So, and we're learning what doesn't serve us, that we've been doing just unconsciously. It's just getting conscious around how we go about our daily life. Once we're aware of it and we can see, like, wow, that really isn't supporting me. That's not where I want to be. Then we can start making choices to do things differently. So yeah, leaving the career, completely changing the health, and changing relationships. Sometimes that happens. These two people changed their relationship in a way that was very beneficial. Now they're both eating healthy. This stuff, it's contagious. When you start healing, it spreads out to your loved ones. So their people are eating better, and now they're meditating together, and they're doing more conscious things together. So it's just really, really beautiful, and a connection to source, to their spirituality, which is the key piece. Really, when it comes right down to it, we're so disconnected from our hearts and our spirituality, and once we start opening that back up, then things really start flowing. So those two people had just really dramatic changes, and leaving the career that doesn't serve. People spend decades in those things, and it's just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it sucks the life out. So for me, oh, and getting off of prescription medications, once you clear out the unhealthy food and work with the body, you don't need to be on Prozac or other, weird stuff. So yeah, those are big pieces.
It's interesting because just before you had another lady who was talking exactly about what she's doing. She works with. She was at one point she was taking 12 pills. She was completely overweight, unhealthy, and she lost. What was it? Let me just look at my notes again. She lost. Where is it? Where is she? She lost like 38 pounds without trying by just boiling and roasting her fruit instead of cooking it. She had one of her clients lose 118 pounds. And how long? And let's see, in 11 months, he went from 300 pounds. He was about to get both knee replacement surgeries because it was too big to now is jogging again. He has had a second lease of life by just changing what he was eating. She actually went with him to the grocery store, showing him how to buy proper food, and just by that, the man just completely changed his life. He had literally maybe less than 5 years left to live, and was a young man if he had continued on that path. But now he changed his life. She changed his life. So I will connect you with that lady because I think you two can. I believe you two can co-create magic. And yeah, I will connect you with her after this call. So absolutely amazing. I love what you're doing. I think me and you, Sadie, we will be talking a lot because absolutely what I do is all about showcasing and helping good people with beautiful, powerful, inspiring stories to win. And you're one prime example of that. You know your story, and I'm so glad that you already shared your story with Krystal. Krystal is a gem, and I want to help you further. Share your story, your message, your gifts, your wisdom on my podcast. If you allow that, I would be honored to do that. So because this is what I enjoy, these kind of conversations. This is what we are here to learn, to grow, and to help, and most importantly, to inspire and to empower others. So I love this connection.
Well, yay. Me
Absolutely,
too.
absolutely amazing. So we will definitely do a part two next week or the week after, diving deep first into your upbringing and being abandoned and put for adoption. That will be one episode. We'll do another episode of on the aspects of addictions, drugs, alcohol, and all that, and another episode on, or maybe two or more, whatever. We'll see how it goes on your stints in jail. So because those are powerful, powerful chapters of your life that it's not that I'm not covering them now here, but I don't want to, because now if we were to, it wouldn't be make them justice to just fly over them in just one or two sentences, because those are powerful, transformational, that not only captivating to hear, but also incredibly inspiring, empowering for others to learn from. And this is ultimately why we're here for, and this is your journey you're here for now, to take those gifts and share them with the world. So
Yeah. Thank
um
you. Yeah, there's
yeah,
an important lesson there for sure. Yeah.
absolutely. Now, so let's wrap this up. To finish off, what I like to do usually is I ask a series of rapid fire questions, but this time on advices. Ready?
Okay. Yes.
All right. What's the best piece of advice you've received so far?
That I've received. Oh my gosh. Rapid fire. I feel under pressure.
Ah, no pressure, no
Um,
pressure. Well,
best piece of advice. Oh my gosh. It's got to be something around fear, letting go, not being in fear. Um, and I know I'm not articulating that very well, but that's what's coming through. Just really, really, yeah, okay, like not making decisions from a fear-based place, which so many of us do. So that really feeling into why I'm doing something. Is it from fear or is it from love? And that's really a game changer when I can work from that place and stay in that place. Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful. What would you say has been so far the worst piece of advice you've received?
That would be around religion, and following
Mm,
rules. Like, this is the only way to worship. This is the only way to pray. This is the only way to connect with God. If you don't do this, you're going to um go to hell. Or in AA, it was if you don't stay here, if you don't follow this, you're gonna get drunk and you're gonna die. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm done with this. I'm strong in myself. I'm ready to explore other avenues. So yeah, that was it. When people are so dogmatic, like this is the only thing and there's nothing else, like
mhm.
mm-mm,
Wow.
no. Yeah.
Yes. Imagine now that you were blessed with a time machine and you can go back in time and sit face to face with an 18-year-old Sadie. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to her knowing all that you know now?
I would tell her that she chose this. She chose the adoption. She chose
Mm,
this. That was a game changer for me when I realized that I was the one that decided this life for myself. So um and that she is absolutely loved, that she is made of love, and she's okay.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you have your own podcast?
What?
Do you have your own podcast?
I do not yet.
Okay. What's the number one reason that you haven't started your podcast yet so far?
Yeah, still just feel overwhelmed with where to start and what to do. Yeah. And the time, I just feel like it is a big time commitment. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now, imagine that you have a podcast that is very successful, and today you're interviewing the most special person in the world, and which is yourself. What's the first question that you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. The first question that comes to your mind.
Um oh my gosh. Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind is, are you fulfilled?
And what's your
Yeah.
answer?
I don't know what to do with that, but that's what came in. And if not, why not? What can you do to get there? Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind. It's kind of a funny thing, but yeah. Yep.
Beautiful. There's a saying that says, change your story to change your life. And by story, I mean what we tell ourselves in our heads. So when you say that you were at some of your lowest point in your life, how did you change your story internally to change your reality externally?
Again, that I chose this, that I always
Mhm.
come back to that, and that helps me so much. That just really, I get out of victim consciousness, which is a huge piece of the wounded feminine. And when we think life is happening to us, then we are giving all of our power away. And so much of society is set up to do that, to take our power away, to tell us we don't have any power. So always coming back to, I chose this. I get to make decisions. I get to decide how I want to be, how I want to react. Again, yeah, exactly. We get control of that. We get to change our story.
How did you realize that? How did you come to that realization? Was it a specific moment or was it something that was progressive?
There was a book that I read called
Um,
yeah, it's I think it's The Journey of Souls.
I have this book. I love it. Yes.
Yeah, right? That was a game changer. That was a pivotal moment, and I've heard that from many people. It's
Dr. Michael Newton.
yeah. It was all about like how we choose this life, and we choose the people we're coming in with, and we are working with this same soul group over many lifetimes. And there was something in that, like that just, I knew it to be true. It resonated so deeply. I was just like, oh my gosh. Like a part of me, I'm getting chills right now, full body, just like,
Oh,
yes, it
yes.
was like, oh wow, this is real, this is true, this is right for me, and I know it. And once I knew that, and once I heard that and read that, everything changed, like really like that. I just moved right out of victim consciousness. I took full responsibility, and I was like, wow, that absolutely changes everything. If I chose this, how do I work with this? How does this work for me? Why did I choose this? Now what do I do with it? So
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
this book should be mandatory reading in high school for every person in this world.
Seriously, absolutely. It's one of my like I have a lot of resources like on my website and what I recommend to people, and that is like one of those on there, like read this book. Get
Yes.
out of victim consciousness, get your power back.
And if you don't have the
Oh,
time, there is a audio version for free on YouTube. Just download it and listen to it. Seriously, I'll send you the link.
thank you. That's
Very
exciting.
welcome. Very welcome. The last question I like to ask my guest, and that is my favorite question to ask, and that is, what is the smallest thing you've done in your life that has had the deepest, most profound, positive impact on both your life and your business? For me, for example, it's been starting my podcast. What about you, Saidi?
Starting taking my
And sorry, and I don't, and by small, I don't mean something small. I mean the one thing.
yeah, yeah. Um I get it's energy healing, taking that from working on myself to then starting to see like how can I work with other people with this, and starting to do the it's seeing the profound results of what happens when working with energy and clearing it out of the body. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it was just immediate, powerful movement and shift. So, that really changed everything for me. And just I got very clear on what I was here to do
Mhm.
and how I was people. So yeah, that was a game changer. There's been lots, but that was a big one. Huge, huge.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, my website, www.healingsacredfeminine.com. There's tons of resources on there. There's a downloadable workbook to looking at different ways the wounded feminine shows up in our lives, and it has different offerings. Did I say resources? And you can
Yes.
connect my YouTube through there, and Instagram, Facebook. I'm on all the things. So
Oh,
yeah.
send me your links. I will put them in the show notes after this call. That's fine. So, listen, Sadie, absolute pleasure, honor connecting with you. And me and you are going to be doing, I am sure we'll do not just one or two episodes, but an entire series because your life is incredible. And I want to help you share your powerful message to the world because
Thank
that
you.
your voice matters, your story matters, you matter, and it's time now to, in my own little humble way, to help you, spread your message and spread your wings to amplify your impact. So I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world with your presence, with your impact, with your healing, with your smile, with your energy, with your passion. Stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you, my friend. Can't wait to talk to you again next week. Take care.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure.
Very
Bye.
welcome. Very welcome.